Hari Om, Namaste to all. So we are seeing the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and now we are entering into the more philosophical verses. So the knowledge that is given in the Upanishad, very abstract, very subtle concepts, self-knowledge, Brahma Vidya, is now being shared by Bhagavan from the 12th to 25th verse. So these verses you'll find, people who are also new to the study of Gita, this is the essence of the Upanishad. And it is not easy to assimilate or even understand. It is not supposed to be easy. So it is easy if you have the prepared intellect, prepared mind. But generally, people are not at that stage where they can just grasp this knowledge and they can assimilate into their lives. But at the same time, it is very important to know because it gives the freedom even in your interactional reality. So even if it is not fully assimilated, what Krishna is going to tell us now, there will be a change, cognitive shift, slowly to give more freedom in your interactional reality. My guru, Swami Dayananda, used to say, very beautifully, people used to come and ask, how do I know I've spiritually evolved? How do I know if I've spiritually grown? And he never used to say, the more you meditate, or, people have this concept of highly spiritual people being able to stay in meditative state for many hours, or there's certain concepts of people who are spiritually evolved. He gave a very simple answer. How do you check your measure of spiritual evolvement? See your interactional reality. How do you live your life? Is it becoming easier for you? Are your reactions lessening? Is your interaction also becoming very smooth? The sign of a spiritual growth is actually given in your day-to-day life when your interactional reality becomes easier for you. So this is very beautiful to know. Why? Because we don't have this dichotomy, this division between spiritual and worldly, spiritual and material. Everything is spiritual for us. Our whole life is spiritual. The very living is spiritual, and we can use that life that we have been given, the relationships that we have been given, the situations that unfold for us to grow in our spiritual life. In fact, that is a purpose of all our births. So here, Krishna is giving this knowledge, the ultimate knowledge, the wisdom. He unfolds the vision of the wise more elaborately. We saw in the previous class that teaching has started. He says in the 12th verse, Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadipaha nacheva na bhavishyamaha sarve vayamatah param. So, na tu aham jatu na asam. There was never a time I did not exist. So Krishna is talking here. He is talking about himself. There was never a time I did not exist. What does that mean? It means in English, it's a double negative. Double negative, the rule is double negatives make a positive. So what is he saying here? I always was. I have always existed. And when you talk about always existing, it can never be in the level of name and form. Because even if he is a divine incarnation, his divine incarnation also did not always exist. We don't see Krishna walking around in the world right now, right? Name and form, whatever, has the nature of coming and going. Krishna is not talking from the perspective of name and form. How is he talking? From the perspective of limitless consciousness, limitless truth. He also says, you may ask, Arjuna may be thinking, well, you are the Lord, you are Ishvara. So you can easily say, I always existed, I always was. So that's why Krishna says, na eva tvam asihi, na ime janadipa janadipaha asan, which means, nor did you, or these kings, nor did you, or these kings ever not exist. Again, a double negative, which means you, Arjuna, including all of us, and also those kings that you think are going to die, they also always existed. So very beautifully in these lines, Krishna has swallowed grammatically the first person, second person, and third person as birthless entities. What is the first person? I. Second person, you. Third person, they, it, whatever. Everything and everyone is birthless, yet existing. This is the, again, bringing in this consciousness that is the essence of everything. And neither was anyone in the same form, because right now I'm in this form. But after this form goes, what form will I be in? I will be in the formless until I assume another form. So he says here, the essence of all names and forms is existence. You were there before you were born. Does that make sense? Before the body was born, you identify with this particular body, mind, senses. But what Krishna's saying is that you were already existing. You were already there in another form. Unmanifest condition, you were already there. And he says that you will continue to be here. The idea is you will also continue after the death of the physical form. So the teaching here, the teaching of Upanishads, teaching now Bhagavan is giving, is to show that we are much more than our physical bodies. We are much more than our body, mind, sense complex that we have come with. There is some essence in all that survives death. Did we exist before we were born? Krishna says, yes. Then what dies? It is anatma, that which is subject to disintegration. The effects die, the cause continues. All effects come and go. They have the nature of change and of leaving. But he says here, you are not born. Then the question, do I die? Do we die then? No, he says, na bhavishyamaha iti na. You, nor will any of us cease to exist in future, which means what? We will always be. I will be, you will be, and these people that you think are not going to be will still continue to be. We are birthless and deathless. We never come to an end, but I take myself to be born because I identify with this physical body. I take myself to be a mortal because I identify with mortality. And that means what? If this is the teaching he's giving, there must be some error in our vision. If I take Krishna's teaching as a means of knowledge, it is a revelation for all humanity. It is not limited to, one particular country or state or people. It is for everybody. And if it is an error that is committed by all of humanity, it doesn't matter where you are, the only way is to discover ourselves as birthless, deathless Atma, which is consciousness. This consciousness exists in all three periods of time. The error is that I take myself to be something that is limited. This body is called in Sanskrit upadhi. Body, mind, sense complex is called upadhi. What is the upadhi? So somebody had asked a question just quickly. When I give a Sanskrit word and I give an understanding of it in Sanskrit, it is called vyutpatti. It means derivation in Sanskrit. So Sanskrit always is derived. So what is the etymology of the word? So whenever I give the explanation, it is the derivation, how it comes about. So upadhi, what is the meaning of upadhi? Upa samipe stitva swiyan dharman rupan anyatra adatte. So it gives adatti or adatte, it gives. So something which is placed in close proximity with something else lending its attributes, lending its qualities to the other thing. Upadhi. So a best way to explain it is like a crystal. Crystal is pure, it is clear. When you put a blue hibiscus or red hibiscus near the crystal, how does the crystal appear? Crystal appears blue or red or whatever color you put near it, proximity. So upadhi is that which it lends its attributes and qualities to something else. It imparts the qualities by the closeness. The essence, the understanding here is that, does the crystal ever change in color? Essentially, no. It is just my vision. My vision makes the crystal look blue or red or different colors, but it never changes in essence. This is the same with consciousness. All the bodies, everything is pervaded by that consciousness. But because of the attributes of the body, mind, senses, consciousness limits, as though becomes limited because of those qualities, the upadhis of the body. So when I identify with my upadhi of the mind, I say I have grief, I have delusion, like Arjuna saying he's having shoka, he's having moha, delusion, because he's identified with the upadhi of the mind. If I identify with the upadhi of the body, I say I'm fat, I'm thin, I'm born, I'm subject to death, identifying with the upadhi of the physical body. So the idea is that upadhis come and go. The hibiscus near the red flower near the crystal can be taken away at any time. Crystal still continues to exist. The upadhi of body, mind, senses can be coming and going, but the crystal never changes. Atma, the formless, birthless, deathless reality of myself never changes. And all are timeless in nature like that. Everything exists in this consciousness. It is like, you see all these waves. We take the wave and ocean analogy. There are many different waves, types of waves in the ocean. You see tidal waves, you see small breakers, you see foam, you see different shapes and sizes when you look at the ocean. And each wave rises in the ocean and it breaks on the shore and it gets drawn back into the ocean. From the perspective of the wave will, when it's reaching the shore, oh my God, I'm going to hit the shore, I'm going to die, I'm going to hit the shore. But when it breaks on the shore, it is consumed back into the ocean. It's a very beautiful understanding. Same way, the jiva, the individual, is consumed back into the one when the upadhi, the body, mind, senses, dies off. The truth of the ocean also, and the truth of the wave is what? It is nothing but water alone. That is consciousness. Water is one, waves are many, ocean is also huge, containing all the waves. But from the standpoint of water, which is limitless consciousness, where is birth and death for the waves? There is no birth and death. So it is only standpoint that we're looking for. And this is what Krishna is saying here. Na chaiva na naha bhavishyamaha sarve ataha param. We never come to an end. So what comes to an end and what is eternal? He says in the next verse, Dehi nosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tatha dehantara praptihi dhirastatra na muhyati. So 13th to 15th verse talks about the wise realized people who never come to grief because they know this limitless reality. Asmin dehe yatha dehinaha kaumaram yauvanam jara. There is only one Atma here, this consciousness. From the perspective of the individual, it is called Atma, and that I never undergoes any change. That I, which is consciousness, then what goes through all the changes? It is the physical body, mind, and senses. The physical body was a child one time, but that I was always there. When that child became youth, so child is kaumaram, the stage of childhood. The child grows, the physical body grows to become a youth. That I still is there in that youthful body. The youthful body becomes jara, it becomes old. That I still there in the old body. It is that I that makes all the states of the changes of the body, the conscious state. The I, the Atma, reflects through the body, mind, senses. It enlivens all the states of the body, mind, and senses. The body is what goes through the Shatvikaras. We saw that the sixfold changes of birth, of being, of growing, of changing, of diminishing, and finally of destruction. The I am, which is there throughout your life. What is there throughout your life? I am, I am, I am, I exist, I exist. That existence has never left you. That existence has been with you day in, day out, throughout your life until this moment even. You still exist. That is the self-evident, self-shining self, which is Atma. Tata dehantara praptihi. Similarly, the I will continue to be changeless when I give up this body and gain another. So Krishna says, that I exits this body on death. The body goes back to the earth, earth to earth, ashes to ashes, but that I takes on another body and it still remains changeless. It is only a change of, even if you think matter and energy are also not destroyed, they keep changing from one to another. Matter converts to energy, energy converts to matter. But here we're talking about limitless consciousness. It is like, it is formless entity. That I am reveals that formless entity that you are in essence, and that I am takes on another body. It never changes, even when you go through the states in the next body that you take. So here is where, reincarnation is brought in by Krishna. The concept of reincarnation is brought in because that I am, it is still continuing in the next body. Reincarnation is for bodies. I am doesn't reincarnate really. The I am is always there. So I am always, you can even see an old man. As an old person, you can talk about your youth. If you'd go to talk to your grandparents or anyone who is elderly, they can remember their youth. They can remember their childhood. They can remember their life. Many talk about it. If you are not there in those stages of life, can you talk about them? No. Which means that I am still was there witnessing all the states of existence. Previous lifetimes also, if you had the memory, you would remember. But thank God, Bhagavan has covered the previous lifetimes, because one lifetime is enough for us. We don't need memory of past lives as well. So here, dhiraha tatra na mukhyati. With reference to this life, why should the wise person who knows the truth come to grief? If you understand this truth, what does not change cannot be changed. What changes cannot be stopped. The facts are clear for a wise person, so there's no grief on the level of consciousness. So now, the next verse that Bhagavan gives us the knowledge, it probably comes, because it is a bit out of place in this whole thing, it probably comes because Arjuna is thinking, oh, Atma is fine, it is wonderful to hear about Atma, but how to deal with the world? How to deal with impermanence is my problem, Krishna. I'm not worried about permanent right now. It is the world of opposites that creates, difficulty for me, creates sorrow for me. How do I deal with what changes constantly? So that is why Bhagavan brings in This verse, I call it the facts of life verse, the facts of living verse. There are many of them in Gita, but he says, Matra sparshāstu kaunteya shītoshna sukha dukkadaha agamapayino nityaha tāns titikshasva bharata. So here Krishna says, what does he say? He comes to the living in the world, but as an ignorant person. Because if you're like the previous verses, if you're a wise person, you won't grieve. But if you're still ignorant and you're identified with all the situations, with the physical body, mind, sense complex, then we do experience grief. So he says, now he gives a verse about how to handle the unpleasant situations in life. How do we deal with that which is constantly changing and things I cannot control in life? So he gives us first some facts. Matra sparshaha. So matra sparshaha means matranam vishayehi saha sparshanam. Sense organs coming into contact with sense objects. What will happen when your sense organs, which is the organs of sight, of sound, of smell, of taste, and of touch, these are our sense organs, when they come into contact with the sensory world, with sense objects, what happens? Bhagavan says, you experience as an individual a reaction. You will experience a reaction. The senses will respond to the external world because they're the instruments for our life in the world, the experience of the world. So when they come into contact with the world, you will experience the pairs of opposites. Shita and Ushna, he says, heat and cold. Heat and cold stands for any physical pairs of opposites I experience on the physical level. Shita and Ushna. On the emotional level, on the mental level, sukha and dukkha, joy and sorrow. When you come into contact with this world, you will have a dual experience of all of this: heat and cold, joy and sorrow, censure and praise. You can name it. We live in a pairs of opposite. Okay, we live in this pairs of opposites. We only like one side of the pair. That's the problem. We only like the nice side, which makes me happy, right? Sukha, no problem. I love sukha. I love to be happy. If I'm praised, I love that side. I don't like blame, but I love praise. So as human beings, we only like one side of the pairs of opposites. But what is the rule in life? If my senses are open, they come into contact with the external world, you will have to face two sides of one coin. There is no escaping from the other side. These facts do give me pain, but how do I handle? First of all, I don't blame the pairs of opposites in the Jagat. I don't blame the external world. When you understand this, I don't blame outside for my unhappiness, what I react. See, it is not the heat that is the problem, right? If we talk about this verse, in Africa, in the desert, people may crave for cold. So heat, and people may crave for cold there, but in the middle of Antarctica, people may crave for heat. So the opposites, the pairs are not the issue. It is our reaction to the pairs of opposites that is the problem for us. We have to live with these pairs of opposites, and many are not under my control. If I don't know, also another rule is that if I don't know one side, if I don't know heat, will I know cold? No. So both come together. I have to know one to know the other. If I don't know sorrow, can I know happiness? No, I cannot. So this is also something we have to recognize. I recognize one because I know the other. And life is pairs of opposites alone. Everything, all our situations arise as pairs. It's like I always think, when you go to the airports And sometimes you see departures and arrivals, right? So it's nice. I like to go early and just watch this because it's interesting about life. When you see the departures, there are people crying, because there are loved ones are leaving, and there's always people crying of sorrow because they're going. When you look at arrivals, people are still crying, but it is joyful tears. Arrival of their loved ones creates joy. Departure creates unhappiness. So here, life is like that. Arrivals, all our situations are like arrivals and departures, and we are reacting to them. So Krishna says, survive skillfully in this world. Recognize another fact to survive skillfully in life. Agama apayanaha. What does that mean? These pairs of opposites come and go. They are not permanent. They are anityaha. Everything in this universe is anityaha, not constant, not permanent, never, never stays forever. Never ever stays forever. You can repeat that again. Nothing stays forever. There is an arrival and departure for happy moments. There's an arrival and departure for sad moments. I am not going to be sad, sad, sad forever. I am also not going to be happy, happy, happy forever. Like the seasons change, especially in Europe, very beautifully you can see summer will now leave, autumn will come, winter will follow autumn, then spring will come, then summer. All the seasons are also changing. So Krishna says, and he says, he's not saying this, but I'm imagining the conversation he has with Arjuna, Agate swagatam kuryat. Whatever comes in life, welcome it. Whatever comes, pairs of opposites will come. Welcome it. Gachantam nani varayet. Don't resist what is changing. Don't resist what is going. So, the idea is here, I don't resist life. The whole idea of this verse is non-resistance to life. That is another theme, very major theme of Gita being introduced with this verse. I call it the chemical reaction to life. Joy and sorrow are triggered by likes and dislikes in our mind. We have to think about this because raga and dvesha, these are two words you'll see throughout the Bhagavad Gita, binding like, binding dislike. Everybody's mind has likes and dislikes. Some likes and dislikes don't overpower us, but generally we have some strong likes and dislikes for things to happen in a certain way. This binding like makes me run towards things which happen in the way I want. I like. So this is called raga. And dvesha means I run away from things I don't like. So this is I call this the chemical reaction to life, because when my binding likes and dislikes react with life, there are hormones triggered in my mind. Even scientifically you can see there are hormones triggered. Serotonin is triggered. Serotonin, dopamine are the happy hormones, right? I get the happy hormones when my like matches what is happening. Then I get the cortisol, adrenaline, all those hormones when I don't like what is happening. So it is my reaction to the external world that creates joy and sorrow for me. And these joy and sorrow manifest physically in the form of hormones, because the hormones released give you joy and sorrow, right? So this is a very beautiful thing to recognize. Gita teaching is to make you manage these likes and dislikes in the mind, not change the world to match your likes and dislikes. See, what we do is try and change people, change the world in order to match my likes and dislikes. Gita has a totally different perspective where you change yourself and the world doesn't matter, whatever is happening there. That is more intelligent living, right? Because we find throughout all our lives, these years that we have lived on this planet, we have not been able to manipulate the world to give me exactly what I want. We have not been able to change people to be exactly how I want. We have not been successful. That's why we are studying Bhagavad Gita. We are looking at, if we were successful, we would not come to Bhagavad Gita to seek spiritual knowledge. But we have recognized we cannot change the world to match our likes and dislikes. It just doesn't work. So there must be another solution. Gita says you can change yourself. Change your reaction to the external world. Change your trigger to the external world. And Bhagavan says here, Tan Stitikshasva, he says, how to be in the world with these pairs of opposites. He says, forbear them, endure them, tolerate them, accept them. Tan Stitikshasva. What kind of solution is this, we may ask? The answer is, it is the only solution. It is the one and only solution if you want a peaceful life. It is a one and only solution if you want peace of mind. And for a spiritual seeker, this titiksha is a must. It is one of the prerequisites. It's a qualification for a spiritual aspirant. We cannot have all the things the way we want, the mind wants. We do not call all the shots in life. All the shots we don't call in life. Things can go the way they go according to an order. And the rule is, the only constant in life is change. Only constant that we have to face in life is change. So my choice is not in situations that manifest for me. My choice is in my attitude. That's where free will comes in. So whatever is unfolding for me on a moment-to-moment, day-to-day basis is choiceless, not my choice. But my choice, my attitude is how I face life. So titiksha means I accept the facts of life. I accept whatever is unfolding, this joy and sorrow, it is natural, it will happen. Titiksha also doesn't mean suffering. If you can change a situation that is unpleasant, you can change it. We can use the free will to make changes. We don't have to sit and just say, oh, you know, if you're sitting in the desert in Sahara, in the sun, oh, it's so hot, it's, you know, it's so hot, it's so hot, it's so hot, complaining, or sitting in a cold room saying, it's so cold, it's so cold. You can make changes, put on a fan in a hot place, and put on some clothes in a cold place. Very easy. We're not talking about suffering for just for the sake of suffering. Use your free will, but don't internalize the external situations in life. That is the key. What Bhagavan is saying, don't allow outside to hurt you. Don't allow the outside to control your states of mind, dictate your moods. You can be the master of your life when you don't internalize, you don't have the need to control external, you don't have the need to control even your own mind. So, it's a very beautiful word. Titiksha means, you can take the world as a test, a testing ground, as a school ground. There are many tests that are given. And who are these tests given by? That is where in the consequent verses of Gita, we will see that nothing is randomly happening in our lives. There is an order to what is unfolding, that order of karma phala, of the results of action, means there is a giver of the fruits of action. The giver of the results of action we call Ishvara. You can give any name, but if there are certain tests I have to go through in life, if I look at them as tests, then who are these tests given by? By Ishvara, the Lord. The whole life is a test of endurance. Are you flight worthy? I always use this example of a flight. When the jet plane is tested for flight, to go into the air, it is put through extreme tests. Ice blocks are chucked in the jet engines, dead birds are chucked in, there are, high force winds, it is exposed to cold weather, hot weather, you name it. A plane, before it takes off, before it is flight worthy, is put through extreme tests. But it takes off. When it is ready, it takes off. So the tests in life are for the jet plane of moksha to take off. So this is another way of seeing the tests in our life. So very beautifully, Bhagavan says, unpleasant, pleasant, this duality is very natural. And the idea in the Gita is, I don't go up like an emotional yo-yo. I don't go up when good things happen to me in accordance with my like. Remember, always remember, it's my like and dislike reacting to the external world. I don't go up and I don't go down in life. And next verse now, Bhagavan says, what is the result of practicing the titiksha in life? He says, Yam hi navyatayantyete purusham purusharshabaha samadukha sukham dhiram somritattvaya kalpate. Somritattvaya kalpate, which means one who has this ability of forbearance, of endurance, of the pairs of opposites, is fit for self-knowledge, becomes fit for this wisdom. Because you can see yourself to do shravanam or to, to pursue this spiritual knowledge and the spiritual path, you need a level of peace of mind. So the previous verse is to give you relative peace of mind. We'll see after these verses that again Bhagavan goes back to Upanishad knowledge. The ultimate absolute knowledge is to give you absolute peace. So you don't have to practice. Absolute peace means you discover yourself in the form of peace. Relative peace means you have to practice to maintain that state in order to pursue spiritual knowledge. So he says here, samadukha sukham. This samadukha means this person who has become a master of endurance, who has become a master of titiksha, does not go up and down emotionally like a yo-yo. He is relatively the same in the dukkha, unpleasant situation, and pleasant situation. So pleasant situation also, he's very careful not to go too high. If you go too high, you can also fall too low. So he's not too elated. Does not mean he does not enjoy life. He's not like a rock. Some people have this idea, spiritual people will become like emotional rocks. They won't enjoy life. No, you enjoy life even more, but you're not like this. You're screaming and, shouting when things go your way, then suddenly depressed and you can't get out of bed when things don't go your way. So joy is a reaction to pleasant situation. Sorrow is a reaction to unpleasant situation. So this person, samadukha sukham, he is equanimous. He is relatively the same. Yam hina vyatayantyete. When his life, just because he is a wise person does not mean he is exempt from the pairs of opposites. That's another thing people think. If you are a wise person, then you won't have to go through sorrow, painful situations. Life will always, we say in English, hunky-dory, right? Everything in life will be hunky-dory. Hunky-dory means all well, all well. Do you think wise person life is like that? No. A wise person's life can be even worse, in fact, because their lives teach the otherwise how to live. So you see, many of the masters' lives, they go through hell in their lives, but they are untouched by all the external situations because through their living through the unpleasant, they show others how to get through challenging situations and still remaining untouched internally. That is the reason. So, yam hina vyatayantete means that he is relatively the same in pairs of opposites. He takes the pairs of opposites in the same manner. And such a Purusharshaba means Krishna calls Arjuna Purusharshaba. You too can be like that, bull among men. Purushaha, Rishabhaha means bull among men. He calls him. Why? Because He's encouraging Arjuna to develop this titiksha, this strength, this mental endurance, this great strength that is conducive to spiritual growth. Saha dhiraha, the discriminative person in life is never shaken by life and the pairs of opposites, because he can analyze life and he can manage his challenging situations through not complaining, not demanding for things to be different, and not reacting. And such a person, amritatva kalpate, which means fit for gaining liberation, fit for moksha. In reality, though, Atma, this Anatma, meaning the life that we live, does not also deserve grief. We saw this in the previous verse. Atma, consciousness, doesn't deserve to be grieved over, but even Anatma, that which is changing, also doesn't deserve to be grieved over. So the next verse is a very important verse of the Gita. It explains that we are none other than the absolute reality. Here in this verse, Bhagavan brings in the critical teaching of Vedanta, the two orders of reality, Satyam, which is absolutely real, and Mithya, which is dependent reality. He says here, Na sato vidyate bhavaha, na bhavo vidyate sataha, ubhayorapi drishtontaha, tvanayos tatvadarshibhihi. Titiksha in the previous verses is only a practice. It is temporary to prepare the mind. But ultimate reality recognized, you don't need to practice anything. You are the truth. So there's no practice necessary. So this verse talks about different orders of reality. It is not easy to grasp. It is very abstract. So don't worry if you don't get it. Arjuna also didn't get it. That's why we have 16 more chapters of Gita. Okay, so don't worry. This verse, but it's very beautiful, fundamentals of Vedanta given. What does Bhagavan say here? What is real exists, and what is unreal doesn't exist. Now, how do we make sense of that? That is why you need a tradition, you need Shankaracharya's commentary to unfold what Krishna is saying. Otherwise, it is too cryptic. You don't understand this at all. It seems very obvious. What is real exists, what is unreal doesn't exist. Now, we have to take some time to understand what is talked about here. What is being talked about is a line in the Upanishads, Brahma Satyam Jaganmitya Jivo Brahmeva Naparaha, very famous sentence that is given in the Vedanta scriptures. This Brahman consciousness is the only truth of this universe. This world, Jagat Mithya, Jagan Mithya means this world, universe, is as though real. It is not as real as you think it is. We'll understand this a little more, but this sentence I'm introducing, this is what Krishna is bringing here. Asataha bhavaha na vidyate. What doesn't exist doesn't have existence, and na abhavaha vidyate sataha. What exists doesn't have non-existence. So asataha means what appears to exist but doesn't really exist. What appears to exist in life? What appears to exist is what we call mithya. In Vedanta, we call this mithya. Mithya means that which enjoys existence for a limited time. Swakale satyavat bhati. It enjoys existence while it lasts, which is like a dream. In dream as well, while we're dreaming, the dream seems very real, right? It is, I go through all the emotions in the dream. I go through all the ups and downs in the dream. But when I wake up, what do I know? It's only a dream. It existed only at that time. But when I wake up, the dream is mithya. It is as though it happened. In the same way, this whole universe is mithya. This is what Vedanta reveals. All the names and forms and functions that we see in this universe have the nature of coming and going. They are impermanent. They don't exist in the three periods of time, past, present, and future. All impermanent things are subject not to exist at some point. So this reality that we experience in the waking state is called mithya. It has an incidental nature. It is not absolutely real. It is as though real. So as though real, we have to understand this as though real as well. And this as though real means it is not absolutely real, but we can't dismiss it as illusion, because many times you read in the text, the whole world is an illusion. No. Do I deal with illusions? Is my mother-in-law an illusion? No, I still have to deal with her. Is my job an illusion? My employer an illusion? No. Illusion is not the right translation of mithya. We're not dealing with illusion. We're dealing with a certain reality. But what Vedanta says is that that reality is not absolutely real. So the best way, I mean, the rishis at that time had clay pot. So you can see this clay pot. This is my prop. This is our prop as Vedanta teachers. So clay pot we call is mithya. This clay pot is mithya. Why is it called mithya? Because it is not absolutely real. It is not at the same time unreal, right? Why is it not absolutely real? It is not absolutely real because it is made of clay. Its substance is clay. So the pot has not got independent existence because clay is the substance. From the standpoint of clay, what would clay say? I alone exist. Where is pot? There is no such thing as pot. Clay will say, I will exist. But from the standpoint of pot, it holds water. It can have another smaller pot in it. Pot has a function. Pot has a name and form. It is not an illusion. I hold the pot. I can pick up water in the pot. It is got, we call vyavahara yogya. It has utility. In this world, this pot has utility. But when I examine it closer, I see what? The pot resolves into clay. There is no such thing as pot ultimately because it resolves into its cause, which is clay. Clay is the substantive. Clay can exist independently of pot, but pot cannot exist without clay. So this is what is meant by mithya. When we take this idea to the universe, to the world, to the jagat, everything we see, the names and forms that we see are just like this clay pot. Everything resolves into its causes. All that we perceive are effects. Everything resolves into its cause, and that cause becomes an effect that resolves into its cause. Even quantum physics, if you study, is exactly this. If you break down any object, you take a tree. Let's take a tree. A tree is a conglomerate of leaves, of branches, of trunk, of twigs. It has all different parts put together. It's called tree. And when you take it apart, where is tree? When you take it apart, you can keep taking things apart in this world. Do it cognitively. Don't pull a tree apart, to understand all cognitively. You can see that everything resolves into its parts. Everything has parts. And where do we end up? We end up with atoms. We end up with electrons. We end up with all tiny particles, the tiniest of particles. Anything you see is not as solid as you think. The whole universe, the seemingly solid-looking universe, dissolves when you analyze it. It is just like this pot. It has utility in this name and form. When it is in the form of name, when it is in the form of pot, you can hold water. Clay cannot hold water. Pot can hold water. So everything in this world has name, form, and utility. Name, form, and function. But the reality is what? The whole world is as though everything can be resolved until where do you go? Until you reach where you cannot go even further. That is called Satyam. That is pure, limitless consciousness. This whole world, universe, is a projection on that consciousness. It is like a virtual, we're living in a virtual reality world. This is what Vedanta says. It is as though real. While I take it to be real, it is real. When I wake up to knowledge as a self-discovered, self-realized person, this world is seen as mithya. It is recognized as a dream because it is a dream. It is a long drawn out dream. Just as I dream in the night, that dream finishes when I wake up in the waking state. This long drawn out dream, I will wake up from when I have this knowledge. Problem is we lose sight of the substance and we give importance to the name and form and utility, and we suffer with that because our reality, name, form, and function has become our absolute reality. So we give this absolute reality to the world which doesn't deserve it. And when I understand it doesn't deserve it, I am free. So bhavaha sataha, there is only one truth, Krishna says, which can never be negated. Every object you can negate cognitively, practice it today. You can negate everything. You can negate everything in the world. But one thing you cannot negate is the unnegatable, the non-negatable, which is consciousness. Consciousness never changes. Consciousness is always there. And this is how the rishis, the sages of past, analyzed the whole world. This world is not as real as we take it to be. So there's a little bit more. I want to just talk about this verse. I'm spending a bit more time on this because these are very important verses of Gita, and it is important to understand what Krishna, the knowledge that Krishna is giving. So I will just spend a little bit more time tomorrow on this verse. But for today, you can, some homework I'm giving, look outside at this world. You can look at anything, even look at something inside. If you're not going to go out, look at inside. Take any object. And a very good exercise is to break it down cognitively to parts. What is this world? Everything breaks down. Even if you take a table, is a table really a table? Table is made of all the legs that the table stands on, but the substance of the table is wood. Even the wood can be broken down. Substance of wood is what? So further you go. Actually, there is nothing in this world. Everything just dissolves. It goes into consciousness. That is the one truth. So with that, we will finish for today, and we'll see a little bit more about this tomorrow. And again, as I said, people who are new to Vedanta, it may feel very abstract and very difficult to understand. But when you examine a bit more, it will start making more sense. And you'll see, even science has come to this point now. Quantum mechanics, quantum physics doesn't know where to go because they've broken down the world to everything, to quantum things. And everything has become not solid, but they don't know consciousness. We say that even everything that goes, there has to be a adhisthana, there has to be somewhere that finally there's an end to everything. So that for us, the rishis have brought in, it is consciousness. And I just want to leave you with some rishi arithmetic here, rishi maths. So I have a little pot, big pot, and you can have lots of pots. One pot plus 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 one pot equals how many pots? It doesn't equal, 20 pots or 30 pots. One pot plus one pot equals only one pot. Because all that is here is clay. Okay? Mritika eva satyam. So that is only an analogy. Somebody, Swami Dayananda used to say, one student, because this is in Chandogya Upanishad, there is a line which says, the same thing is used here, the same methodology. And one student actually took it that there's only clay here. No, it is only, the whole universe is only clay. No, it is only an analogy to point out that all the effect resolves into the cause. And there's only substantial exists. All the effects are mithya. So we'll see more tomorrow. Hari Om. We can practice now. Somebody else wanted to chant. If they have got the video on, we can chant, but they don't have the video. So anybody, whoever puts the hand up, we can just chant these verses just for practice. Who would like to repeat? Yeah, Kiran. Good. Okay. You can repeat after me what we have seen. Can you unmute? Yeah. Natvevaham jatu nasam.
Natvevaham jatu nasam.
Natvam neme janadipaha.
Natvam neme janadipaha.
Na chaiva na bhavishyamaha.
Na chaiva na bhavishyamaha.
Sarve vayamatah param.
Sarve vayamatah param.
Good. Dehinosmin yatha dehe.
Dehinosmin yatha dehe.
Kaumaram yauvanam jara.
Kaumaram yauvanam jara.
Tatha dehantara praptihi.
Tatha dehantara praptihi.
Dhirastatra na muhyati.
Dhirastatra na muhyati.
Matra sparshastu kaunteya.
Matra sparshastu kaunteya.
Shitoshna sukha dukkadaha.
Shitoshna sukha dukkadaha.
Agamapayino nityaha.
Agamapayino nityaha.
Tan stitikshasva bharata.
Tan stitikshasva bharata.
Yam hina vyatayantyete.
Yam hina vyatayantyete.
Purusham purusharshabha.
Purusham purusharshabha.
Samadukha sukham dhiram.
Samadukha sukham dhiram.
Somritatvaya kalpate.
Somritatvaya kalpate.
Nasato vidyate bhavaha.
Nasato vidyate bhavaha.
Na bhavo vidyate sataha.
Na bhavo vidyate sataha.
Ubhayorapi drishtontaha.
Ubhayorapi drishtontaha.
Tvanayostartvadarshibhihi.
Tvanayostattvadarshibhihi.
Very good. So I'll send these verses. You can practice. And we'll finish for today. We'll meet tomorrow, the same time. Hari Om. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Enjoy breaking down the world cognitively. Harihi Om.